on a rock in the middle of space, but now's not the time, nor is it the place. I'm really sick of getting lied to, so get out my face. If you feel the way I feel, then come with me, get up. Flat earthers all across the plane, ripping it up. Truth seekers all up in this bitch, getting it crunk. And if you think we plan on stopping, then you're shit out of luck. That's why ODD is always on the grind, and I'm never ever scared to speak what's on my mind. Cause this day and age, everybody is afraid. It's an illness, realness is hard to find. They lie all the time, and we don't need that. It's one big hoax, and I'm starting to see that. Space was a place that I wanted to be at. I used to believe that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Flat Earth Podcast. I'm Curious Jay alongside Dave from deep inside the rabbit hole, joining us again for another hour or so of Flat Earth audio. Dave, what's happening, man?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Not too bad, not too bad. Keeping it flat over here.
Oh, yeah. It's the only way to be.
So I've had a crazy work week, Dave. Why don't you catch me up on a couple things? I was not able to watch a lot of the Flat Earth videos that came out. The only one that I did get to check out earlier in the week, which maybe I'd love to hear your thoughts on how it went, and that was the top 10 that you and Jaron did on that podcast.
Yeah, we did the top 10 things we want science to prove or to show us. And it was a show called The Twisted 10, and it went, in my opinion, they didn't have any answers except word salad.
Yeah. Well, so I haven't listened to the entire podcast. So do they answer, or are you just asking hypothetical questions, or is there someone there to respond?
Well, there was a couple guys, and they would respond. Well, there's a NASA guy, and a guy that he's a security guard at SpaceX, but he was the toughest brainwashing, of them all, and he just could not face the fact that rockets don't land like we're told.
Right.
My favorite one was, and I think Jaron feels the same way, is why isn't there a camera on the moon filming the Earth? During a lunar eclipse, how awesome would it be to see the Earth rising up?
Yeah.
And blocking out the sun? Yeah.
And like we've said before, I think maybe even on this show, doesn't multiple countries, don't they have robots rolling around the moon all the time? China, Russia?
Yeah, I think Japan or someone has a rover on the moon, but I think it malfunctioned as soon as it got there. But, we have our rover on Mars that has that amazing Wi-Fi, and it's able to send us images back. So why can't we have something on the moon? That's something science could do. If I was running NASA tomorrow, I would go up there and prove to all of those flat earthers that the Earth is a ball, if it was.
Yeah, and I guess we'll get to see footage once again of the spinning Earth with the eclipse shadow from the Epic, the Discover?
The Epic Deceiver?
Yeah, the Deceiver. I guess we'll get to see that again here in just a few weeks. I want to urge everybody to go check that one out. And also the video that you guys did, the first one, where you guys were discussing that with the guy from SpaceX and NASA. I couldn't have enjoyed that more. I thought that was an incredible conversation with you guys.
So Adam, the host, who is the IT guy for NASA, I've been following him on his Facebook feed, and he's just, listening to all these other ball earthers say that, we're deniers of things that have been known for 1,000 years. And I just keep replying, can somebody please show me one thing that they can stand behind that proves the Earth is a ball? And I get silence when I ask that question. Silence, or there's so many, I don't have to give you any.
Right. Or what I get typically is when they do begin to list a few points, it's always the same stuff we hear over and over. It's the regurgitated repeating of the science's mainstream stuff. The Eratosthenes shadows, the lunar eclipse shadow of the moon. It's like, man, you start to realize how easily we're all programmed.
The indoctrination is so strong that they say things because they've heard them. The eclipse proves that the Earth is a ball. Well, no, it doesn't. It could work both ways. If it works at all on the heliocentric model, it works perfectly on the flat Earth model, as we've discussed before. There's major questions on the ball model.
Right. One thing that I thought we should definitely bring up, I think a couple of people have already put out videos this week on this, but that is the article from the Daily Mail regarding the mothers around the world that are beginning to get into the flat Earth. And the gist of the article is that it's no longer just a guy's thing. that females and moms are now getting into this. And, for those of you who don't know, the Daily Mail, dailymail.uk is sort of like a tabloid. I wouldn't put it as low on the list as something like the National Enquirer. It's kind of like the Us Weekly type thing where they cover lots of, celebrity gossip, that sort of thing. However, it does classify as mainstream. It is a very widely read, quote unquote, news site. But what I found shocking was the fact that they really didn't throw any punches in the direction of the flat earth. Like, they didn't contradict the flat earth. They just stated all of these women are now into flat earth, and they gave their names, where they're from, what they do, and why they got into it.
Yeah, when I first heard that the Daily Mail, which I call the Daily Fail, came out with this article, I was like, oh boy, here we go. But then after reading it, I'm like, that's there's really not much of a spin there. It was women are waking up to the flat earth reality.
I mean, even the Denver Post, which did not slam the flat earthers, they at least kind of threw out science's side here and there throughout the article.
Yeah, the Denver Post, the thing that stuck with me is they meet in a dark windowless room in the back of a coffee shop. So that kind of sets the tone right there.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't go. I mean, we couldn't ask for 100% in our favor, but like I said, they did a fair job on that piece. But this article on the Daily Mail, the one that came out just, I want to say, what's the date on it? August 11th. And if you haven't read it yet, just go to Google and search Daily Mail Flat Earth Mothers. And it's from August 11th. And when they listed the beliefs, it says Flat Earth female beliefs. And they list the beliefs, what flat earthers believe in. I want to read these really quickly because I think it's important to note what is not on here. All right. So first is that our system is geocentric, meaning the sun, moon, and stars go around us, the earth. Second, no such thing as gravity as we know it. Number 3, the earth does not spin at 1,000 miles an hour. In fact, it doesn't move. It's stationary. Number 4, the sun is not 93 million miles away. 5, Antarctica is not the continent it appears to be, but rather an ice ring that encircles the flat earth. Next, the moon and sun are roughly the same size, followed by the moon is not 240,000 miles away, but sits approximately 3,000 miles up. There is some kind of barrier, some call it a dome, firmament, that is above the earth, making the earth an enclosed system. Second to last is that we've been lied to by authorities for 500 years. And finally, that most pictures and videos provided by a government agency, NASA, are CGI fakes. That is the list of the flat earth female beliefs. And I think it's awesome. Like, they don't use any of the points on the Flat Earth Society page that everyone gets so upset about, that we're writing on something,
Maybe the editor is a flat earther and just really pushed out the information.
Yeah, and I don't know if the editor...
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I think the editor is probably like, just happy with the numbers that the Flat Earth is bringing into their articles online. But the writer of this, who I don't think is the editor, but definitely a staff writer or whatever, contributor, this person's got to be a flat earther. I don't remember her name. Jackie Devoy. She didn't hammer flat earth at all. So I got to consider it a score, because whether or not it's a legit, it's not the Washington Post, right? But these things, as we know, make their way around social media now. And if it gets clicked on by people in the mainstream and they do give it a chance and read over it, and there's no anti-flat earth garbage in there, I consider it a score.
They're all good points. We're going to see more and more of this in the mainstream. And when people can get information like this out there, it's fantastic, because that article will wake up countless people. I have one pet peeve, though, with the proof. When people say the oceans are surrounded by an ice wall, to me, that says Game of Thrones. It says, it just says a wall, and then a baller is going to think, and then space. It's not that. I call it the ice shore, the shoreline that surrounds us. And I wish people would, that's just me. I wish they would change the way they say that. It's the shoreline that surrounds the oceans that contain all of the continents.
I think you're totally right. I think that nowadays, most people, when they hear the words ice wall, they immediately think of that show and the large ice wall on Game of Thrones. I think maybe what we ought to start saying is the frozen border, rather,
the frozen shoreline where the sun's energy does not reach, the shoreline that surrounds us. And a lot of it is cliff-like. It is like a wall, but it's not a wall like a rock wall where it has two sides. It has one side, and then it continues on with the plain.
Correct. Let's quickly go over to SpeakPipe, where we've got a message here that I wanted to play about a video that was released.
Hey guys, this is Dave in Kentucky. Been looking into this stuff for a couple years. Just want you guys to check out the John McIntyre channel. His latest video, he thinks he found some curvature. That's John McIntyre, the same guy that did Mountains of Evidence. If y'all can check that out and give me your take on it, I appreciate it. Y'all have a good day.
Okay, so David, have you checked that out, the video from John McIntyre where he thinks he found curvature and the mountains?
So John McIntyre is the guy that did some amazing video where he was filming mountains, and he found the perfect spot and measured where he was and was zooming in on the mountains. And it's how long was that video? A half an hour or an hour?
I think it was like an hour.
Yeah, it was a well done video. So this new video, he comes back and he does a little model on a walkway where he has the mountains to scale, which was interesting. But the way he did it, and then he compared it to pictures online that he found. I just found what he did very unscientific. He was holding the camera, so it was moving all over the place. The pictures of these mountain peaks that he used from the internet, there was no indication on what height those were. So if you're up higher, it's going to change the perspective on all of them. That's how I see it.
Yeah, there's two things that would factor what the picture will look like when you're up on one of those peaks. And that is the elevation, the exact elevation that you're at on the peak, and then also what angle, up or down, that you point your camera. So he was looking at all these different images off of Google, and we don't have the information that we need to judge and then to recreate. So I thought it was a good. Let me just say this: hats off to John McIntyre for building that scale model with the peaks and making a video that's fairly presented. However, I do think that was his mistake. Was not.
He was a little sloppy in what he was taking for facts. He didn't know the altitude. That just changes everything. The altitude of the photos that he used for comparison makes a big difference on where it was taken from. Without
a doubt. But thanks for sending that over. And if you've got any more messages to get to us, SpeakPipe is the way to do it.
Amazingly, we haven't had any, hey, you guys are dumb, flat earth is stupid. We've got nothing. We're only getting positive things. So that's kind of a good sign. Or maybe the trolls haven't found our show yet.
They probably haven't found it yet. They're still scouring YouTube for the latest videos. But you're right. So far, it's been nothing but positive reviews and great questions and some good feedback. The train is in motion. And speaking of train, we were talking maybe a couple of episodes ago about trains and the motion and how it relates to the spin of the earth, right?
Yeah. So one of the things that the ball people say about the spinning atmosphere with the atmosphere is spinning with the earth. And that when you're on a train, you don't feel that you're going 60 miles an hour or however fast the train goes. And I disagree with that. You do. If you're sitting there, you feel that motion slightly. If you get up on a train and you try to run towards the front of the train, forget your relative position outside of the train. You have to expend more energy for each step because whatever that force is that holds us down is trying to hold us stationary with the earth. And when you're running towards the front of the train, it takes more effort for each step. My Siri just went off. I said something that made my Siri go off. So Google is listening to me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So you have to take a lot of effort to run towards the front of that train. Then you turn around and try to run towards the back of the train, which I said before, that the train will you'll speed up and you won't be able to slow down because your body is trying to come at rest with the still earth. Do you follow that?
I do. And I think I even mentioned to you before that I pretty much had it reconciled in my head that it would take more fuel to go west on a plane than it would going east on a plane.
I disagree with that.
I know. And I had it all figured out in my head. And it was due to the fact that, in my analogy, I'm using like the flat escalators, the conveyor belts that take you across the airport for a couple hundred feet at a time. And I was saying to myself, okay, well, if I start in the middle of that conveyor belt and I say, okay, go to the end of it where it's headed. Well, it's much easier to get there to the remaining 50 feet than if I say, okay, now go back to the beginning where you started 50 feet ago. That takes a lot more energy. So that's where I got my west will take more fuel.
But that's the mistake you're making there is if you're in the middle and it's 50 feet to either end, if you're 50 feet to either end of the train, it's the same number of steps to get to the back of the train and the front of the train. On an escalator, you're adding more steps as you're running towards the back and you're losing steps as you're running towards the front. So that's not a fair.
No, I agree with your train assessment completely. If I take off running towards the back of the train, I get there so easy. It's almost hard to stop. Like, it's almost like the back wall is going to hit you.
It will. I ran.
That's how it feels.
Yeah, I've done it. So this is an experiment that anybody can do. Try running in a train. People are going to love you, but you can do it. You can test it, and it does take a lot less effort to run towards the back of the train. Therefore, wouldn't it, if a plane or a car was traveling east, it would take more energy to move every foot across the earth than it would traveling west because the earth is spinning underneath you?
Yeah, no, I get it. It took me a couple times of you saying it, but it finally sunk in. And I agree 100%. I guess where I sit is I'm trying to figure out which analogy, the conveyor belt or the train, best represents what the plane would be doing in the revolving atmosphere.
But again, the whole experiment of what I'm saying is absolutely ridiculous because the earth isn't spinning. So we're just trying to decide what color coat the polka dotted
the unicorn is going to wear. Party, right?
Right.
We're doing it again.
We're arguing this. Hey, speaking of that, I just want to point out, I've noticed that I've told the same story. We're only up to episode 4, I think, at least 3 times on the show. You're going to hear me repeat myself during this show because we have new people on that need to hear that analogy, or basically I just forgot that I had already said this, or I just want to hear myself say it again. I do like hearing the same thing again and again and again, but that's another great reason to have the podcast app, because if you hear me repeating myself, telling you the same story, you could just jump forward and skip it.
I think it is a good thing that we do repeat some of our thoughts and ideas and concepts on this show, because you never know when someone's going to join the podcast for the first time and they tune in at episode 107. They haven't heard you say the story 5 other times. And so they need to hear it during that episode.
And it's actually not a bad idea. It's not a bad thing to hear it if you're listening to a show once a week. But if you're binge watching, if you jump in and we have a half a dozen episodes and you binge watch them, you're going to be like, hey, he already said that. Skip. I don't want to hear it that I repeated the story.
Yes.
Take a hike and get your podcast app. Jump forward.
Exactly. Now, speaking of things that are debatable and going back and forth and the unicorn party, what color dress the unicorn is going to wear to the party. More discussion has been going on with the solar eclipse. Where we left off last week, we were talking about it being up in the air. We gave a little bit of our thoughts on that. I did take note earlier this week. I think I saw a post somewhere online from allegedly Dave, also from Mr. Thrive and Survive, 2 of the great content providers out there for flat earth material. And both of them are in the camp that says the shadow of the solar eclipse absolutely cannot go west to east. So where do you stand as of today, Dave?
Without getting into all the technical modeling stuff, and I know that you want to do a model because you believe that it can't, I think that it's possible that the shadow can outrun the Earth the way it goes, because if the moon is moving in its orbit, which is like 2,100 miles per hour, I think the shadow will go 2,100 miles per hour, and then you subtract 1,000 of the Earth's spin, and that's somewhere in the ballpark where it's supposed to go. But again, there's so much that doesn't work with the shadow of a distant moon and a distant sun, which we've said 100 times, where it does work perfectly on a flat Earth with a close local sun and moon. It's again, we're talking about the unicorn's coat.
No, I agree. We are. I do, however, when you're on the side that I'm on, or at least where I'm at right now, and that is that it cannot work. It cannot work. Physics tells us it can't work because 2,000 miles an hour out there where the moon is not the same as 2,000 miles an hour here, which is why we are not supposed to give the speed of an object when it is rotating or spinning. We are not supposed to give that speed in linear numbers. We do it to describe it in relative to where it's at, but we're supposed to describe its motion. It's like this. It's like back in the days of the old records, the record players, you didn't buy, they had two types. Do you remember what they were?
45 and 33.
There we go. We're exposing our age here, by the way. But yes, there was the 45 and the 33. But they never said, hey, this record right here is a 2-inch per second record. And this other one, this is a 1.5 inch per second record. Because you don't measure the speed of a rotating or a revolving object in feet per second or miles per hour. That's not proper science. That's not proper physics. You evaluate it in terms of rotations per and a time frame. And I am under the impression right now that there is no working model that will actually animate the solar eclipse shadow going backward or going west to east, because you can't have it happen when one is going 27 RPMs and the other is going 1 RPM. So that's where I stand today.
In the great movie Jerry Maguire, what's the line?
Show me the model.
Show me the model.
Show me the model.
Show me the model.
Agreed. And that's the entire reason I haven't put out a video, because I've got a video ready to put to go as far as the math goes, like to explain the math behind why it actually can't work. But I think the important thing here is to actually make a working model to prove it one way or the other.
I have a more important thing about the eclipse I'd like to comment on here. You know how they tell us don't look at it, and they give everybody these glasses and say don't look at it, you'll go blind from the radiation of the sun and the moon, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So think about this. Before the governments were here, with the mainstream media to protect us from going blind and make these glasses for us and hand them out and make sure everybody has them, there were civilizations that had eclipses that had no, big communication forms, as at least like we have them today, where when the eclipse happened, everybody stared at the eclipse for the entire time. Yeah. Did they all go blind?
Oh yeah. You haven't heard they just recently announced that the Mayans were a blind civilization.
Well, they were blind because they were staring at the eclipses, and that's how they developed their extrasensory powers.
The Egyptians as well. They built the pyramids. No one knows how, especially considering that they were blind.
So this is what I believe. When you're grounded, I'm all about grounding. You ground yourself to the earth. I walk around barefoot all the time, on moist grass or in the sand. You always feel better because you're connecting to the Earth's battery, and we are electrical beings. And when you're grounded, we get these free electrons from the earth, and I don't believe that humans can exist away from the earth. Like in space or at super high altitudes, because if there is any type of space, I just think that people cannot survive there. But when you're connected to the earth, the sun gives us all of the food and life and information. I believe that all the information that we get comes from the light of the sun, and when you connect that circuit using your eyes, it's very good. I do sun gazing whenever possible. And I always feel amazing after doing it, during doing it. And I think during an eclipse is an opportunity to evolve. If that's the right word, or enlighten yourself.
Yeah,
I like enlighten better. Yeah. So I'm not telling people to stare at the sun, but stare at the sun.
And I think what you said about humans it's not healthy for us to live off the grounded earth. I think Peggy, what's her name? Peggy, Peggy on the ISS. I think she would argue with you. She's been up there for like 666 days, right?
Yeah, but look at her hair.
Yeah, look what it's done to her. Just look at her poor hair.
Look what it's done to her hair. Oh, I forgot to mention the Twisted 10 guys want Jaron and I to come back on. So I suggested to them that they host the show instead of us hosting it with the 10 list, and they give us their top 10 reasons that they think the Earth is a ball. And I've suggested that. Haven't heard back. I don't know if I will.
Cue the cricket noise there.
Yeah, cue the crickets.
Yes. And I believe you told me the other day via text that you're going to attend your first meetup. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's a meetup in Nyack, New York. I believe it's next weekend. I'm going to check it out as long as it's not windy, as a caveat I have on my weekends. If it's windy, I'm going kite surfing.
Ha. Very nice. Speaking of meetups, our next guest coming up after the break just had a meetup with over 50 people there.
D Marble.
Yeah, he is also known as the Flat Earth Offensive guy. Mr. D Marble will join us. All that and so much more coming up on the Flat Earth Podcast.
Following announcement has been paid for by
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
You want to leave a digital voicemail for us? Head over to theflatearthpodcast.com and click on the blue link that reads, "Got a question? Send us a message."
You can do it from your iPhone or from your computer. First time you do it on your cellular phone, you'll have to download a little app. But after that, you can leave us all kinds of messages. If you want to be anonymous, you can make up a name, make up an email address. We don't care. We just want to hear what you have to say.
We'll do our best to play or answer these questions and comments on future episodes right here on the Flat Earth Podcast. Download the SpeakPipe app and check us out at theflatearthpodcast.com.
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
If you're watching this audio on YouTube right now and you're not familiar with the world of podcasting, there's a far better way to listen to the Flat Earth Podcast each and every week.
Think of it like your TiVo or your DVR is to your television. You subscribe to whatever show that you like. Whenever a new episode comes out, it records it, downloads it, and notifies you that there's a new episode for easy listening anywhere. Another great feature on most podcast players is you could speed up if you want to hear stuff even faster, or more importantly, it has a jump back and jump forward 30 seconds so you could skip annoying announcements like this.
We're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and so many more. If we're not on your favorite podcast app, send us a message and let us know to make sure we will be.
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
We've got with us the man known for his, I guess most known for his spirit level test on the airplane that he did. And then, of course, all of his other videos on his channel. D Marble is here with us. D, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, gentlemen. How are you? And thanks for having me on, by the way.
Thanks. You know, the reason I've been thinking about you, but today I woke up and I saw that you had uploaded a new video. It's about a 15-minute rant from everything from chemtrails through GMOs, vaccinations, and fluoride, and flat Earth deception. And it was a really great rant. And I had a long drive this morning, and that's what I listened to, and it was fantastic. So then when I saw you this afternoon in a live chat, I was like, that's who we're having on tonight.
Yeah, I watched it as well, D. Good stuff. Good rant.
I appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. It was kind of a frustrating day yesterday. You might, as you may well be able to tell.
Well, my favorite line in it was, people say, what does it matter if the Earth is flat or not? I got my job. I'm doing good. I'm good. I'm fat and happy. And you said, I don't want fat and happy. I want pissed off and hungry.
Pissed off and,
hungry and
pissed off and hungry or something like that. It was great.
Yeah, and that was great.
Thank you.
So, getting into it, what first woke you up to flat Earth? Most of us say that we saw Mark Sargent's video, the clues, or Eric Dubay's 200 proofs, but I think you have a slightly different story.
Well, I mean, long story short, yeah, it was kind of Mark Sargent, but I could tell the story again. Few people have heard it before, but all right. Once upon a time, about 2 years ago, my girlfriend at the time and myself, we were big into conspiracy theories, or so-called conspiracy theories. So We were also making attempts to save money and kind of unplug from the system because, we never really watched a whole lot of TV anyway. So we didn't have cable, but we did have internet. So we spent most of our time watching YouTube videos. So we had watched these YouTube videos on conspiracy theories for, months and months on end. And we kind of got to a point where we were burnt out, because we had looked into all kinds of things, 9/11, just false flags all over the place, chemtrails, vaccines, fluoride, GMOs. We looked into all kinds of stuff. And, eventually we got burnt out somewhere around, looking into our hired officials. So we decided to take a break and head over to Netflix. And we find a TV show called Under the Dome. So we watched that series, all 3 seasons. It was a pretty good series. Had its ups and downs, and finished off pretty decently. But there were still some questions, I guess. And like most people, when you binge watch a YouTube series or a Netflix series, that is, you get to a point to where you kind of have withdrawals. Kind of like, all right, now what? It's like that little lag time in between shows. And we, couldn't find anything else on Netflix concerning Under the Dome, so we headed over to YouTube. And in the search, I typed Under the Dome. Then, we scroll down the page after we see this one picture, but, it was unfamiliar, so I just scroll right past it. So, scroll down the page and we see it's, interviews with the cast and outtakes and, different commentary, talking over shows that we had already seen, episodes we already saw. And, we didn't really want to watch any of that. That wasn't all that interesting. We were maybe hoping for some, secret episodes that came out, maybe in a 4th season that wasn't aired or something like that, but we didn't find that. So we scroll back up to the page and click on the picture. Now, this was a picture. It had a black background, looked like stars in the distance. There was something that looked like Earth, except it was flat. And there was a dome over it. It was also called Under the Dome. So I click on that funny-looking picture. About a 2-hour video pops up. And the first thing I hear is, this is a Reader's Digest of some of the more interesting points of the flat Earth theory. So I kind of had to pause it right there. Like, did flat Earth? What are you talking about? Just because I, in my adult life, I hadn't heard flat Earth to a point where I was actually listening to those 2 words. So, I just continued listening. It was Mark Sargent, Flat Earth Clues, all compressed into one 2-hour video.
Right.
And the girlfriend and myself were sitting next to each other in the bed, just watching. After a few minutes, we pause it, look at each other like, you know what? That was a good point.
So wait a minute. It was the whole Mark Sargent series that was in this video. It was
the clues.
Yeah.
It was the clues. Okay, so
Yeah.
all right. I thought you watched something else.
No.
Interesting.
It was Mark Sargent's Flat Earth Clues, all in one video, all in one place at one time.
Yeah, I've seen that online on YouTube before, Dave. Someone put them all together, but
I know
they
it's out
called it
there.
Under the Dome.
Ah.
And so here he is looking for the TV show. Hey, where's some deleted scenes from Under the Dome, or where are the missing episodes? And he stumbles upon Flat
Hey, that's
Earth.
not a bad idea. We should name some of our videos the names of popular television shows
search
missing
items.
episodes.
Hey, that just might work.
That's
never know.
pretty awesome. I think we're on to something.
And put a pretty cool thumbnail out there. Something that grabs the eye. Heck yeah.
Yeah, just
that might work.
a note for all the YouTube creators, content creators out there. Upload one and call it whatever you want to call it, but then upload a ditto, a copy of it, and maybe try it out and see how it works.
Yeah, make a separate channel and put it under a different name, or even on the same channel.
Yeah, Google the most popular movie out right now or the most popular TV show and say, deleted scenes from such and such with a screen with a thumbnail and all. Boom.
I had put up a video a while ago of Dave, allegedly Dave, when he was on that television show, that late night show.
Yes.
And I took that version and I made a thumbnail of Kim Kardashian. And I said, wait until you see what happens when Kim Kardashian and Jay-Z, is that her husband or whoever she's married to?
Yeah.
Kanye.
Kim and Kanye crash in on this late night TV show. So people would watch it waiting for them to crash in. And then 30 minutes later, there's nothing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is awesome. Like, what's the most popular stuff out there? You know, like cat videos on YouTube.
Right.
America's Cutest Cats.
Yes.
And you know, just started out with a little fuzzy, cute little kitten, and then bam.
No, I said wait for the surprise. It's amazing when they show up. So those are, I always say, we're talking, this podcast is for people that are just new to flat earth, and it's also for flat earthers. We're always looking for new information, so we're going to have people like you on. We're going to have people that are just think flat earth is ridiculous, or people that have no idea what they think, and we're going to have conversations. So the purpose of this show is to talk about the most important things in flat earth that make you know that we don't live on a spinning ball. But go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, it's all good.
So you guys are sitting there watching Under the Dome, which is actually the Flat Earth Clues. And, you say you paused it and said, well, they got a point there. But after watching it, Dee, what's really stuck in your head? What was the thing that made you dig further?
I was hooked after the first one because it went on to Admiral Byrd, and it talked about the ice wall, and then I watched the interview intently. He's talking about more land across the ice. Talk about your mind blown in a short period of time. I'm just like, wait, what? At the end of every Flat Earth Clue, it would like fade to black, and it'll be over, and then I'm just, what did he just say? We ended up watching that one video all weekend.
Wow.
we would get to the end of it. I'm like, hey, one more time. Yep. Click. Start it over,
I did the same thing, but I was following on Mark's channel, and then I would get to the last one, and I'd go back to the beginning again, and I'd watch it again and look at it and think. Because once you can peel that ball open from the bottom and pull it out into a flat plane, then you see, how simple, how much of more of a simple system the flat Earth is.
Yeah. It's like we have one, most of us anyway, have one hard layer on the outside of us. It's just that initial wall, stemming from, of course, years and years of indoctrination, and some of us have our tough wall on the outside is like incredibly tough to penetrate, and some of us it's been worn down a little bit. Our distrust, like Dee was saying, with the system. But I find that once you can say, okay, all right, I've heard enough to look further, it's like, boom, that's it. Here comes everything. It's like, it just pours in.
Yeah. All the clues that were given concerning, okay, why the azimuthal equidistant map makes sense, or why different agencies use that map. Then it goes to, not being able. Well, I don't think the clues covered finding curvature at any point. It covered flight patterns and all. It was just a lot of those different clues. But the one thing that snapped it all into place actually made me really wake up to the Earth being flat, indeed, without a doubt anymore. It was actually a mashup that Jeranism did with audio from Vegan Warrior. Because Vegan Warrior did a Facebook live chat, and Jaren, he must have taken that chat, he took sound bites from it and put music to it and added video to it and uploaded that on YouTube. And I've watched that video so many times.
So a song mashup is what woke you up to the flat Earth, which was what would push you over the wall, so to speak.
Well, one of the videos in that one of the clips in that video was basically, it looked like a drone was flying, following a car, and this car was driving over this flat bridge, and the bridge was right over a large body of water, and the drone just kind of followed this car from above about, maybe like 100 feet or so, just follow this car for miles and miles over all this flat water. And I'm just looking there, and like the water for miles and miles was just flat. And seeing that and hearing what Vegan Warrior was saying with such enthusiasm, such passion, that's what woke me up.
Nice.
Because he the way that he articulated that water doesn't curve like that. Water always finds its level. He was just going off about that, and that is what got me. And hearing him saying what he was saying and watching that video while he was saying it, that's what worked for me, and that's what I try to do when I put more time and effort into making videos.
Good call. Well said.
That affected me long term. I'm like I find that to be one of the best ways that I learn or that things stick with me. So I figure I'm a pretty normal guy. So I think there will be other guys who will be able to pick up on what's, a visual while they're getting the audio,
See, I'm very visual, so this research, with YouTube on all the videos, helped me see when I see a flat water shot like that really sets in with me. And then when I see the high altitude balloons,
yeah,
with the non GoPro, there's some really steady ones that really show it amazing. And those are the ones that have fully convinced me. Lots of them, the camera's going up and down and the horizon's bowing back and forth.
Yes.
That's those are tough. But if you see through it, you can see that it's not a ball. When you see curvature, and we do see curvature, it's not the right amount for a 24,000 mile ball.
No.
It changes. And that proves right there that it's not curvature that you're seeing, that that there's multiple factors. We all see curvature, but it's flat curvature.
Yeah. And I think that the early period of researching flat Earth, you definitely have to have the visual aids, even for things like the sunrise and sunset being a matter of perception. That's tough to get your head around until you can look and see pictures of a flat tunnel, someone looking down a flat tunnel and realize that, oh, wait a second. Yeah, the top starts to go down. That'd be tough to explain to somebody without those visuals. And, hats off to everyone who's been putting out these videos the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's what helps me. So I figure that's what'll help other people. I'm not going to be like I may not end up being the most detailed informant deliverer of the message here, giving so many different details and from so many different angles and all that. But I'll try to keep it as simple as I can for people who are new to this.
So I got a question. Let's say you run into somebody, strike a conversation up, nice guy, girl, whoever, but you didn't know them previously, and you're wearing a shirt that says Flat Earth, or your van says Flat Earth on the side, and they ask you about it. Let's say you got 60 seconds. Like, what do you go with first? What do you hit them with first?
Oh, well, gosh, I don't know how to say this without sounding a certain way. Well, what happens now, because I'm kind of out there like that, kind of known, kind of got a name for myself and all that. Now I can kind of jump out of the van or pick my head out. Hi, do you have any questions? I mean, just that simple, because I'm seeing people pulling up next to my van. I'm usually in here when people are coming up to the van. I have pictures of people taking pictures of the window, and they have questions. What I'll just kind of peek my head out of the door. Hey, do you have any questions? Like the guy that was here right before you guys call, before I started the call with you guys. This guy, he's asking me. He stood next to my van for about a minute, and I he said, "Hey, where are you from?" He's starting to start a conversation with me, and I asked him to go around to the other side so he can open the door and grab one of my cards, because I have cards now with my name and website and Facebook, YouTube. So that just helps facilitate my conversation with people in short periods. I'll just tell them to find me on YouTube now, and if you have any questions, hey, add me on Facebook and send me a message.
So what did he say? What is your elevator pitch when someone says, "What do you mean the Earth is flat?"
Yeah, you could definitely tell them to go check out your channel. But if you only know you got a minute, what would you hit them with?
Okay, if I only have a minute, that I'm just going to tell them, this one thing. If you do a quick Google search, Google will tell you that 70 to 71% of the Earth's surface is water. Now, from your experience that anytime that you've accumulated water in any container to a point to where it reaches all edges of that container, that the surface laid generally flat. Yes? They say yes. I say, so, and I may be holding a bottle. I'll have a bottle of water around here. I'll see. So you see how this lays flat. Now, have you been fishing before? Yes, you've been fishing. Okay, so you notice how the lake laid flat from one edge to the other. Yeah. Okay, so you've been swimming, right? Yes. Okay, you remember how the pool in the water, it from one side to the other side, it lays flat, right? Yeah. Okay, so, and you've been fishing, you remember the lake, right? Okay, so let's say that lake's connected to an ocean. Now let's say, now here, let's expand it a little bit. If that lake lays flat here, at what point do you think, before it connects to the ocean, is that it's going to bend into a ball? Well, it's probably going to lay flat the whole time. Yeah, it may lay flat the whole time. So you know that one ocean is connected to every other ocean, right? Yes. And you understand that water, when accumulated to the point of reaching all edges of its container, the surface lays generally flat. You understand that, right? Okay, so you understand the basic physics of water, that as long as water reaches all edges, it will remain level. It will find its level, and the surface will be generally flat, save waves and ripples, because people still say that. It's not flat because the wind blows, so there are waves. Yeah, I know. But generally, that's why I say it lays generally flat. The surface of water always lays generally flat. If more than half of the Earth, if 2/3 of the Earth is water, and water lays flat, what does that mean? Well, that means that the Earth is flat.
Right.
And I'll walk them all the way through that process. That's, a little more than 60 seconds, but I haven't really had anybody walk away once I got going.
Sure. Dave, what about you, Dave? I've never asked you that. What is if you had 60 seconds, what would be what do you lead with?
There's a bunch of them, but that is one that I lead with. And I talk about the Bolivian salt flats, a place that even science agrees is geographically flat. It's flat. And if that's the case, then when it gets covered with water, whatever point you want to call the top, whether it's the middle or the side, everything beyond that should come out, 8 inches per mile squared. The water should curve around, but it doesn't. The lake in Siberia or Alaska, wherever it is, there's a 300-mile wide lake that freezes flat. Some will claim, well, it's curved and you can't see it. I just like talking about the geographically flat area where water should not lay level on it, and it does.
That's a good one.
That alone proves it.
So I typically take the globe skeptic approach, I guess, whenever I do feel comfortable enough to introduce it to someone. And what I'll do is bring something up, a topic of science up, and then I'll get into something that doesn't make sense that we've been taught, and not lead with the Earth is flat. You know what I mean? Just to kind of chip down slowly. Now, there's been others that I felt comfortable with saying, yeah, I looked into it. It's flat. But a lot of times, when I'm just talking science with someone and I think they're open-minded enough, I'll say the one I lead with is, can you figure out how our atmosphere exists next to the vacuum of space? That just makes no sense to me.
And they always say gravity.
Gravity, man.
And I say, yeah, but a vacuum can pick up gas off the earth with no problem. I mean, I'm just talking about my hand vacuum at home. But the infinite vacuum of space seems like it'd be pretty powerful.
I talk about it. They tell us if a spaceship, the International Fake Station, got a hole in it, the size of a BB would suck all the air out and everybody would die. And that's the ultimate the all-powerful vacuum of space. I have a video on it. And when people claim that gravity's holding the air down and the vacuum can't pull it away from the earth, I give them a simple experiment. You get a bottle, like a 64-ounce bottle, you suck some of the air out, you put the top on it, and we'll call that a lesser vacuum. Everybody would agree with that, correct? So if you take that and you poke the hole in the bottom of it, it's going to suck air up and away from the earth. Even if you stuck it in water, it'll suck water, which is heavier than air, up and away from the earth. That right there proves that the gravity cannot hold air down to a vacuum force.
Whoa.
Exactly.
Whoa.
No, it's exactly right. And that's
Did I explain that well? Did you see that in your head?
I did. Had
So
my eyes closed and everything. That was great.
It's the lesser vacuum can do it. So now imagine the all-powerful vacuum of space.
right. Like I always say, imagine the infinite universe that they tell us it's so large that, we can't even get our heads around how big the universe is, but yet it's one large vacuum. So we're talking about the largest vacuum that anyone could even possibly imagine, not being able to pull the puffy little clouds off the earth.
Huh.
I mean, that doesn't make sense. How do we maintain our pressure within the earth and its atmosphere? How does that happen? And that's what I try to do. I try to get my foot in the door a lot of the times with a question about something we've been taught that just doesn't make sense.
I've got a question for you guys. The air pressure at sea level is heavier than it is up higher. Do we all agree with that?
Sure.
Yes.
And is that just because of buoyancy and density and whatever force that it is? I believe there is a force that makes things go down, whether it's electrostatic or whatever. It's just not due to mass. So because the heaviest air is at the bottom, and that's where we're getting our 14 pounds per square inch. Does that make sense?
Yep. That's what I think. I think Bob from Globebusters has explained it well with the when you see the dust particles sticking to a television screen.
I use that all the time. That's a good one.
It's like, what is that? It's not gravity. It's electricity. It's magnetism, or I should say electromagnetism. And, same thing. It's going to pull the denser air towards the bottom.
You can't prove gravity in any kind of experiment, but you can show electrogravitic, electromagnetic, electrostatic forces. I don't know which is the right word, that will pull things down, will hold things together. A maglev train is not a anti-gravity train. It's a maglev train.
Right.
Right?
Exactly.
It's not defying gravity. It's defying some sort of electromagnetism pull.
Well, and that's exactly right, Dave, because for years when I was researching UFOs, they always talked about, well, they've got anti-gravity. They've got anti-gravity. But when you look into anti-gravity, it's simply magnetism.
Yeah, they're using electricity and magnetism go together.
Right. Right. And
good.
No, I was just going to say, so you can call it anti-gravity, but it's simply magnet. I mean, if I take a magnet and I pick up a nail with it off the ground, is that anti-gravity? No, it's just magnetism.
Right. And so we have our magnetic north, our center point. So that shows that our Earth plane is magnetic. There has to be electric with that. And Devin Magdy did a great video on the Earth being a battery. Have you guys seen that?
I think I did see that one. It was a good one.
I think I did.
Yeah, just real quickly, he says that the North Pole, the center, is the anode or the negative or positive, whatever it is, and the outer ring that we call Antarctica is the opposite charge, and
Cathode.
the cathode, and the salt water in between is the electric fluid, and the sun, which is electric in nature, sending all this electricity down that those solar panels are just capturing and transferring into a usable form, is what's powering the Earth battery, and that's how Tesla pulled his energy out of the Earth. It's a big, giant battery with free energy.
Following announcement has been paid for by
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
The Flat Earth Conference 2017 takes place this November from Raleigh, North Carolina. Tickets are sold out right now, but visit their website and get on the waiting list.
Or just head down. There's lots of people heading down to an adjacent hotel where they'll be live streaming in an auditorium and lots of outside stuff happening. A big Flat Earth hangout.
And if you want to contribute to the massive Flat Earth billboard that's going up down in Raleigh, North Carolina, head over to the website, flatearthpodcast.com, click on the link that sends you over to the billboard campaign.
The billboard is 14 feet tall by 48 feet wide. It'll be the biggest Flat Earth billboard to date. It'll be running for a month up before the conference and ending the Sunday after the conference.
Head over to fe2017.com now.
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
And if you are coming down to the Flat Earth Conference in November, on Wednesday, the day before, we're going to be kicking off the conference with a gathering at the Flat Earth Billboard, which is just 2.5 miles from the conference center. We're going to have hundreds of people there. We're going to have a drone up filming us. We're going to be live streaming it to all of the different media across the plane, and we'll be interviewing people during it that'll be going out over the live stream. Be part of that. You don't even have to have a ticket to the show. Just join us and listen for more information here on the Flat Earth Podcast.
The Flat Earth
Podcast.
Yeah, we mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I'll ask D. Have you heard of the Missouri gravity low?
I have not.
Yeah, folks out there ought to research that. I'm still digging into it to kind of get my head around it, but what's really amazing is, and for those of you who need me to say it again, it's called Missouri Gravity Low, LOW. And what it is it's this anomaly that they found in North America, across the United States, where they say that the gravity readings are lower in nature. They're off. They're just off, right?
So are you lighter or heavier there?
I'm not sure.
Because if you're lighter, they can use that as an ad campaign. Come to our state. You'll be 5 pounds lighter.
That'd be a good campaign.
Right.
So what they've found is they've found an electromagnetic anomaly, and they're calling it a Missouri gravity low. But what's super interesting about this, folks, is if you Google this, Missouri gravity low, and then go click on images, what you will find is a map of the United States, and with the exception of the northwestern side of that line, it is exactly the same line as the upcoming solar eclipse.
Whoa.
That's what I said.
How's that for a bombshell, right?
Dude. What?
Yeah.
Yeah. We need to drop this episode earlier so we can get people
going
in.
before
Yeah,
the
I think
eclipse.
so. We definitely need to get this out soon. Very soon.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the Missouri gravity low. Search on images and just click on one of the maps. And this has been around for decades. You know, the article I was reading the other day about this was like from 1982 or something. And so it's been around a long time. And like I say, I've got to do some more research and figure out exactly what they're saying. But I was blown away by the map, because I think the eclipse starts in Washington and kind of swoops down.
I heard in
Or is it Oregon? Is it Oregon?
Oregon, I believe.
Okay, so then it's the other way around. So the eclipse starts up in Oregon and swoops down, and the Missouri gravity line, or Missouri gravity low, that line starts one state up in Washington, but the swoop down is exactly the same across the entire country.
Oh, wow.
And so if we're in the flat Earth community trying to figure out, well, is the sun an electromagnetic? Is it making a path around the flat Earth? you know, and is it affecting tides and that sort of thing? I think it's worth looking into this phenomenon.
Actually, I was just going to say something else about the sun and the moon concerning electromagnetism. And I don't know, maybe this was a video that I saw earlier, or it might just be a random thought that I was having. But I've been thinking about this lately, you know, along the lines of the electromagnetic nature of the Earth that it seems to be. I was thinking that some way or another, for sure, the sun and moon do affect the tides, but you know, a lot of people haven't put together why, I guess. And it reminded me of this one video that I saw. It was a diver. Well, maybe not a diver, but it was, let me see. It was the end of that video by Full Armor OG, I believe. Best flat earth proof, or Scrawny to Brawny, actually. It was the one. It was a guy. Yeah. Scrawny to Brawny, it was his video of like Flat Earth Truths or something like that. It was about a 25-minute video. There was a guy took his submarine to the deepest part of the ocean. He gets over, says he pulls his submarine over to this
One of
dark
my favorite
band,
channels, Scrawny to Brawny.
and he sees around the band there's like a bunch of dead mussels. And
Oh yes, I remember this.
and he sees this water lapping up over the you know, coast of this dark band, and he's thinking, well, wait a minute, I'm already underwater.
Yep.
So he takes the submarine over the black band, over the water, that is, and he tries to, you know, descend the submarine into the water, and he said that water down there was so super saline and dense that the submarine literally bounced off of it. They couldn't go down because the water was just that dense. Now, that water, I believe, is connected to the tides in that it may be the most saline, saltiest of the water down there. And I saw another video where it seems that a negative charge affects salt water in a different way, kind of pushes it away. This guy put a little vial of salt water in this plastic tube and sat it on a little piece of styrofoam in some water, and he took a magnet, held the magnet next to it, and it kind of drove the salt water away. He didn't touch it with the magnet. He put the negative side and it drove the salt water away. Now, I'm thinking that concerning the tides, the sun may very well have a negative magnetic charge to it. So
the sun. Go ahead. Sorry, I thought you were done.
Oh no, I was saying the sun may very well have a negative electromagnetic charge, and the moon may have a positive charge. So that when the sun comes around, that it pushes that water, that you know, that saline water at the bottom, pushes it downward some way or another. And that causes low tide. And I believe that as the sun moves off into the distance, the moon comes around, or the sun just loses its hold over that charge and just kind of loses its effect, and the waters down there kind of come up, and then the moon comes around, and those waters are drawn upward because the moon has a positive charge and that saline water has a negative charge. And I'm thinking that's what causes tides, because I thought about this when I went to the beach, you know, at the Pacific Ocean a few weeks ago. You know, I saw the sun. I watched the sun. I was sun gazing on the beach, and I watched the sun go off into the distance. And as I watched the sun go, I noticed that the tide was coming in, and the water was seeming to, you know, it was creeping onto the beach. So, you know, I started thinking, I'm like, the further away the sun gets, the higher the water gets. So I know there's a connection there.
The problem with that is that the tide doesn't always match. You know, at sunset, let's say in one location, you can have high tide, and 6 days later you'll have low tide, and the sun will still be in the same position. The way I see it is the sun and the moon's relative position to each other, as they come around, they're creating an electromagnetic force, and I call it the wake of the sun and the moon, and it's actually pushing the water. So a combination of that, they definitely have something to do it. It's not gravity; it's an electric force.
Right.
And that's because one of the ways to prove that is freshwater lakes don't have
That's right.
tides.
It's the salt
There you go.
waters. Yeah.
It's the salt water is conductive.
There you go. And that's what I was thinking, because some way or another. I mean, if over time, all the density of the salt in the water had all come to the bottom of the ocean, it could have had some sort of effect on the waters down there, made them that much more salty. And I mean, it was just a thought, man.
I think it has more to do with the moon, because the moon is changing its time that it sets every day along with the tides. And you know how when there's a full moon, you have super big tides?
Uh-huh.
If the heliocentric model was true, what's the difference between a full moon and a new moon? It's still there. It's just not reflecting sunlight when there,
Right.
and it's a much less powerful tide when it's a non-electrified moon. When the moon is in its new moon, which
Yeah.
is not lit up, but the moon's still there. So if it was gravity, there would be no difference between a full moon and a new moon or a half moon in the tides, but there is. And that shows that the moon's light, that the moon is its own light. It is its own energetic thing, whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, it has its own charge, and that charge becomes stronger as the as the moon becomes more visible.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah, the moon itself is for me, for the last year or so, has been a great conversation starter because of the weird day moons that we get, every few weeks or so. The best is when, I don't know if you guys have gotten this in your area, but I've recorded a few of these where the sun is up and it is, 35, 40 degrees up above the horizon, and it's behind you, and 180 degrees away from that, so the opposite direction, is the moon, and it's, say, 40 degrees up, but only the top half of the moon is lit, and the bottom half is not.
Right.
And I've got video and pictures of it on my phone, and I love asking people, hey, why is the bottom half not lit?
Yeah.
And they go, oh, that's the Earth's, and the average, a lot of people don't even know. They think, oh, that's the shadow of the Earth. And I'm like, no. The moon's right there. The sun's right there. The sun can reach us.
Right, and we're on Earth.
The sun, yeah, we're on Earth. The sun can see the moon, so why isn't the bottom half lit?
Man, I was saying the same thing. I was, had the same conversation with a guy the other day, the exact same conversation. I'm like, but dude, I'm like, Chuck, the moon's right there, man. I'm pointing at them both, and it was like 2:30 in the afternoon. The moon was still up. I'm like, this is crazy. I was just running around. I was just outside, like, guys, do you see this? It's like 2 in the afternoon, and the moon's still up. Really?
I want to wait. I have an issue with some of the things that some flat earthers do. They say, here's the moon and the sun at the same time in the sky, fairly close to each other, but visible, then they're like, what about the other side of the planet? What do they have? Nothing. And in the heliocentric model, that does work.
Sure,
it does
work.
So that's not proof. That's one of those things that falls into the works on a flat earth, works on a ball earth.
Right.
So that is not proof whatsoever, and people need to realize that.
Right.
Yeah, and every so often you'll catch the full day moon, and there was one just a few months ago, and I recorded that one as well. But it reminds me more. The Morgau's
That
always
does not work.
No,
that
I was about
does
to
not
say,
work
yeah,
on a heliocentric model.
exactly. And Morgau, I love his videos. He always points this out. But the full moon during the day, it just blows the heliocentric model away. And for those of you who are just getting into flat Earth, look into it. Try to model this out. And it's amazing because if you go to any science diagram and you say, oh, moon phases, science, go to Google Images and look through them. They will always position the full moon in their diagram that we were taught as kids. They position that moon on the nighttime side of the Earth so that it works, so their phases work. But when you see that thing a few hours before sunset and it's full in the day sky, yeah, I'm sorry, but that doesn't work.
What's amazing is people that have no idea that there's even a debate about the shape of the planet never even look up at the moon. I was at an outdoor park concert yesterday. There was an amazing moon up in the sky as the sun was setting. And I was watching people. Nobody's looking at the moon.
I know.
When there is a moon like that, I have a great way to break the conversation into discussing the flat Earth and heliocentric Earth. My way is, I go, you see the moon up there, and they look, they go, yeah. I go, I call bullshit, and then that's it. They're like, what do you mean? I go, I call bullshit, and I don't even go any further. I just plant that seed and let it go.
Yeah, that's I like I say, I'm the same way. I like to get my foot in the door. Just plant the seed. An atmosphere, the vacuum of space, bullshit. I call bullshit.
Sometimes if someone sees a flat Earth sign I have or whatever, they'll go, Is the Earth? Do you think the Earth is flat? And I just look at them. I go, everybody knows the Earth isn't a ball. And then I walk away. I go. Come on. I go. Everyone knows that the Earth isn't a ball. And then I walk away. And that's it.
He's just
that's
standing there
it.
scratching his head like, am I the last one that doesn't know the Earth? What?
I mean, don't tell me you just like it's a matter of fact, which it is. You just say it.
Yeah.
Like you really believe we live on a spinning ball spiraling through space, chasing the sun, and everything's following us?
Come on, man. Come on.
That's silly. D, have you let your family and closest friends know?
Oh yeah, they were the first. They were the first to get it. My family at first, they kind of didn't want to hear it, or I'd show them. They're like, "Yeah, that's interesting." Just kind of humor me whenever I'm around, and that was about it. Recently, they've taken more of a shine to the idea. I was pretty excited when I last time I went down to Arkansas to visit. As soon as I get in the car or with my dad leaving the airport, he turns around and says, son, it only makes sense if you sit down and think about it that the Earth is flat. I was like, yeah, I know, right, Pops? I was pretty excited, because I'm like, dude, that's my Pops. Pops is a flat earther. Sweet. So, that was cool. My mom, she's been cool about it. My sisters and my brother, he's all right. And, I haven't really had to deal with any negativity from family. It's been, a pretty easy ride in that respect.
Now, when I think it was like the Metro and a few of the other, there was a couple places that ran with your guy on a plane tries to prove the flight. When they ran the articles, did anybody contact you first about that? Or did it just show up?
It just showed up, man. I just out of nowhere on one of my videos, I got a message from Mark Sargent. Actually, I believe it was a Spirit Level video. Mark Sargent says, "Hey, you made the news, man." I was like, "Wait, what? What news?" He posted a link, and I click on it. It's IFL Science, and I'm reading through this thing, and it was just a total hit piece. They're like, it starts off, conspiracy theorist Daryl Marble. I'm like, crap, they used my real name, because, I was using my real name on my YouTube because I had 17 subscribers. So I was like, nobody knows what I'm talking about anyway, man. But, they just kind of called me names, said I need to study more on gravity. They pulled up some negative tweets that people posted. And, they were like, if you want to get a good laugh, go ahead and click on this video right here. And that's where they screwed up.
I was about to say, when they provided the link, so what did that do to your view count?
Went from 7,500 that day. It was doing pretty good before that. Got up to about 7,500. I was if it would have stayed there, I'd have been cool. But once they posted that article, by the end of the day, it was at about 75,000. So,
wow.
It had been shared so many times, man. It was crazy. And the next day around noon, it was about 225. I edit a video, or I'll go record a video so I can tell IFL Science that they screwed up by giving me that kind of exposure. And between the time that I was recording, like another 11,000 times the video have been viewed. So, and I did screenshots of those numbers and put those in that video. And, because they titled it Flat Earther's Video Goes Viral, but not in the way that he wanted. I was like, 7,500 is not viral. But, I'm pretty new to YouTube, man, but I'm pretty sure 7,500 is not viral.
But it has now, thanks to you guys.
Yeah, I'm like, well, yeah, I'm like, come on, man. You guys weren't supposed to give me exposure. What are you doing? If you wanted to, if you wanted this to play out where people would just make fun of me every now and then and, let the story just die off, then, yeah, you should have just left me alone.
Yeah.
Because now, all these people, they come on to make a comment about me being, a flat earther or taking the spirit level on the play, and then they'll take the video and they'll share it, making fun of me. But some of their friends would click on the link, read the story, and then they'll just read the headline and then scroll down to the video and watch it. And that caused a lot of people to come to me asking real questions, because not everyone is satisfied with the official story. And some people are just generally skeptical. Some people are actually open-minded and willing to take a look at something new. So they would click on the video with an open mind. And some people have commented on that video saying, well, I wasn't a flat earther before,
Right. That's great. Yeah, it's going to be one in a pile, but as long as we keep reaching that one at a time, it keeps growing.
There you go.
It's just one at a time. That really helps, because those people will reach more people, and it goes on and on from there. My old podcast, which was a conspiracy podcast called Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole, I started getting into Flat Earth in the final third year of it, which was at the very beginning of the Flat Earth revival or whatever, Flat Earth Rise of the Flat Earth. And I had a lot of people just attacking, and even my co-hosts, just getting upset at it, and but now I get messages every day that they looked into Flat Earth because of me. They can't believe it. I get messages, it's the greatest thing ever. Thank you for awakening me. I get messages, you've ruined my life. Nobody will talk to me.
Right.
But you got to deal with that. My family, my brothers and sisters, they have no idea that I even think the earth is flat. At least I don't think they do. My mother, 92 years old, is trying to wake up her friends to the flat earth, but they don't want to hear it.
That's fair.
She
Wow.
knows.
That's awesome.
She knows.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys. On a different note, one of the things that pops up on a lot of the pages, the Facebook Flat Earth pages, for the last 6 months or so, is the PhD student in, I think it's like Tunisia, that wrote the paper saying that the Earth is flat and stationary. Have you guys heard of that?
Yes.
Okay.
It was the college thesis of some sort.
Yeah, wrote their thesis on it and supposedly had been researching it since like 2011 or something. I'm trying to figure out if this is like real news, fake news, because every single article I find that describes this or talks about this, it all has the same rhetoric, and none of them have a link. They never have the student's name. None of them. I have yet to find this paper, even though in many of the articles I've found it says that the paper can be found online. I'm like, have you guys looked into this? Dave, have you looked into it deeply?
I just saw a little bit on it. I haven't had time to look into it.
Yeah, about every few weeks or so, it'll pop back up on one of the Flat Earth Facebook pages. And so I just thought I'd ask you guys if you knew anything more about it other than those articles. Because if it's true, I would love to get a hold of that paper.
Or that person.
Yeah.
You're invited on the show.
And a translator. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, if the college student, PhD student is listening to this podcast, give us a shout. We'd love to have you on.
Also, just as a little side note, anyone listening, if you are interested in adding some content to the show, you can go to our website, theflatearthpodcast.com and leave us a voice message. It'll ask for your name and email, but you can give us a fake name and a fake email if you want. And just leave a question, leave a comment. Tell us why you think the earth is flat. Tell us why you think we're idiots. If you're a pilot, a scientist, anyone in any profession that knows the earth is flat and want to come on anonymously or just tell us something, please come on and help spread the word, because the Flat Earth Awakening is the most important thing right now.
Yeah, or if you kind of like Mark does, Mark Sargent does a great job of updating people on the Flat Earth meetups. If you've got a meetup that you want to let us know about to plug on the show, please go on our website, click the little speak pipe button, leave us a voicemail, give us the details, and we'll be happy to announce it. Right, Dave?
Absolutely.
So, D, what's next, man? What's next for D Marble on his channel and in his Flat Earth world?
Well, next on the agenda, I'll be continuing to make videos, with the explanations on different things and just kind of mixing it up. That's kind of my thing. You never know what to expect with old D. One day you might get a motivational speech. The next day you might get a, shout out to someone. Next day you might get a van video. You never know. So, I need to. It's about time to cycle back around to another Flat Earth video with, my insight on something. I'm thinking about three different topics. One, satellites. The other's like why the sun's not 93 million miles away. And there was another one that I was thinking. It's not coming to mind right now. But just doing that. On my weekends, and then trying to get around to organizing more meetups, calling back people who've recently given me my number, and believe me, there have been a lot since that one video, because recently I made another video last weekend, encouraging people to exchange emails, exchange numbers. Let's start to communicate with each other, because being a flat earther, you don't always have somebody to talk flat earth with, so you kind of need to decompress from time to time, because we're kind of out there, people kind of know us. We have people to talk to most of the time. We can call somebody, we can, contact people around us, but a lot of people are like, dude, I'm the only flat earther in my city.
Yeah.
They don't know it. Your next door neighbor could be a flat earther, but you wouldn't know it. The people that don't speak out could be right next to other people that don't speak out. Because we're out there, people recognize us, so we have it a lot easier. I was actually spotted by a guy in the town where I work, saw me on the street. He's like, Dave, flat earth, and we became buddies. That's great. But if I was not public, we would have walked by each other and never have known.
Right.
Yeah. I've been on the side kind of playing around with doodling, if you will, with some ideas, some T-shirt ideas, because I really think, back in the day when I was, I would say like in the early to mid 90s, when I was a huge wrestling fan, and it was kind of before it like really blew up, right? It was still embarrassing to be a wrestling fan. Let's put it that way. And my favorite type of wrestling T-shirt was the type that didn't look like a wrestling T-shirt unless you were a fan and knew what it was.
Right.
There was a period when before wrestling blew up, when you had a shirt that said Austin 316, there was a brief period where really no one knew what that meant except for wrestling fans. And so if you were somewhere and someone saw the shirt, they'd be like, oh yeah, Stone Cold, that's what's up. And I've been trying to think of some designs for that specific reason, for people who are into flat earth.
Just a little secret symbol. I was thinking like a little Fepe penguin, like an Izod shirt, but it's a Fepe penguin. Right. And people are like, oh, that's cool. And people that are not flat earthers are like, oh, it's a penguin.
Well, the problem with the penguin, which I love him, by the way. But the problem with him on a shirt is I think there's a shirt company that does shirts called Penguin, and they have the little penguin on the shirt, Oh. I think it might end up being a what do you call it? A conflict of interest type thing. Of course, who would care? You know, they
How
probably
about just
wouldn't
an
care.
AE map?
Yeah, right. But something like that, yeah, something that's that if a flat earther saw it, they'd go, but no one else would have a clue what it means. That would be. That would
What
be
about
awesome.
what about an app like a proximity app that it tells you when other flat earthers are near you?
boom.
Isn't there like a dating app that does that? There's some app out there that tells you.
Yeah, there's tons of
Yeah.
them that have find your friends enabled so that you can. Yes, that's a money idea right there, folks.
Yeah. Flatpeoplemeet.com or something.
Yeah, flat friends, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, flat friends.
But if there's any developers out there that are Flat Earth fans listening, there's a great idea for you, courtesy of the Flat Earth Podcast. All right, guys, what else? Anything else we want to cover before we ride off into the sunset?
Oh, I got nothing. I'm just hey.
I want to throw something out there. You know, with this, we're new. This is a new podcast for us. A lot of people that are listening are YouTube listeners, and I've been doing a little survey, and I've found out that most people don't even understand what a podcast player is. There's a million different podcast apps out there that you download. You subscribe to your favorite shows, you know, the Flat Earth Podcast and whoever else. They're all on there. Most of them are. And then whenever you're in Wi-Fi, it will download automatically whenever a new episode's coming, and it'll tell you that a new one has downloaded. So when you're driving in the car, commuting on the train, walking down the street, you can have content, not use up your data on your phone. And you could jump from show to show if you're, you know, like reading multiple books. But when you go back, it'll tell you exactly where you are, so you don't lose your space. It's so much more efficient than just listening on YouTube. And you can also speed it up. You know, our podcast at double speed is 30 minutes. At triple speed is 20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, I think the motivation for doing the podcast was simply, you know, I for one in my life, for instance, if I'm on a treadmill, right, anytime I get to watch Flat Earth on YouTube, I do it. Any amount of time I can, I do it. But when I'm on a treadmill, I don't always want to look at the screen, but I still want to hear some Flat Earth information. Sometimes when you're driving in a car, you can't look down at the video, but you got a long ride and you want to hear some Flat Earth. So, you know, in no way is this trying to take the place of YouTube. I think it's just finding another avenue.
It's just for when people are driving. That's a big time. Or you want to lay down and take a little rest and close your eyes and listen to content. It's the way to go. So please, you know, tweet us. Our Twitter, as of the date of this recording, has 5 followers. So we're looking for double digits soon. If you, it's the FE podcast. So if you tweet that out, anyone else, here's the deal. Anybody that tweets that out within 24 hours of hearing this gets a lifetime membership to the Flat Earth Podcast.
Oh, wow. That's a value right there, folks.
Value added.
Well, D, man, we really appreciate you joining us this week, and look for many more great videos. Tell everyone where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube at dmarble. That's just d.marble. On Facebook.com, Daryl, DARRYLE.marble. On Twitter at dmarble1, and on Instagram D_marble_FE. And that's about it.
Sounds good. All right, folks, we'll catch you next week. Dave, any closing thoughts?
That is all. Keep it flat.
Keep it flat, folks. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Truth
Stay
seekers all
flat.
up in this bitch, getting it crunk. And if you think we plan on stopping, then you're shit out of luck. That's why ODD is always on the grind. And I'm never ever scared to speak what's on my mind. Cause this day and age, everybody is afraid. It's an illness. Realness is hard to find. They lie all the time and we don't need that. It's one big hoax and I'm starting to see that. Space was a place that I wanted to be at. I used to believe that.